Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over MSTY and the CONY ETFs and compare them to Bitcoin and what's most likely about to happen. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so the first thing I want to show you guys here is the actual underlying. So we're going to look at Coinbase and MicroStrategy, which is the underlying stocks for the very high yielding, very volatile crypto ETFs that YieldMax provides. So the thing I want to point out here is two things, okay? So first of all, obviously this is the wrong time to be talking about the bear market, but over in 2026 when we eventually get there, and there is likely going to be a crypto bear market in 2026 because it just simply happens every 4 years. Uh, you guys can see that the price of Coinbase will get absolutely decimated. Again, that's not going to be for like another 15 months or so, but just something to keep in the back of your mind, or in the back of our minds, I should say. But for now, we're in the bull run. Okay. So, what happened last time Bitcoin bottomed out and then ripped to new all time high? Again, this was the mid cycle dump. This did happen. Basically, Coinbase bottomed out with it almost exactly. Okay. And Coinbase by itself had a massive 75% increase. Now, something I want to point out about Coinbase is the fact that it was a privately held company at one point, and then they did an IPO in 2021. As you can see, the stock got basically listed back here in April 2021. Some people speculate that the Coinbase IPO was actually what caused the mid-cycle dump in crypto. Possibly, I don't know. That it would appear to be the case here, but of course, it's a very hard thing to prove. So. But yeah, Bitcoin basically went from 30,000 to 70,000, and then Coinbase ripped more, well over $100 per share in price to the upside. And you can see this is a big move. Okay, this is not a small move by any means. This is nearly a 75% move. So the point I want to make here about Coinbase in relation to Coney, I actually got rid of the indicators. I didn't mean to do that. So the point I want to make here about Coinbase in relation to Coney and in relation to Bitcoin, how they kind of all line up together, you can see, and again, I'm not lining the wicks up perfectly here, but you can see this candle body is currently getting above these other candle bodies with this trend line. That means that Bitcoin seriously there's a high probability it's about to break out to the upside. No guarantees, of course, but this looks pretty bullish if you ask me. So basically what I'm saying is the move on Coinbase could still be yet to come. Okay. And this could play out in Coney. There could be a lot of upside in Coney. And as a result of that, the price could moonshot significantly. And basically, pretty much what I'm saying here is as Bitcoin goes up, Coinbase is going to go with it because, again, Coinbase is a crypto exchange. Okay. It's not just about Bitcoin, it's about all cryptocurrencies. And as you guys know, when Bitcoin tops out, money flows from Bitcoin to Ethereum and altcoins, and then those starts to smash to the moon, and Coinbase just keeps going up because, again, Coinbase wheels and deals basically in all things crypto related. That's what they do. Whereas MicroStrategy is basically just a Bitcoin play. So, and speaking of that, something you could do actually if you wanted to kind of play, well, I hate to use the term roll the dice because it makes it sound like crypto is gambling. It's actually not gambling if you really know what you're doing. But considering that MSTR is tied strictly to Bitcoin and not all of crypto, something that you could do, and again, I'm not suggesting anything here. You guys can do what you want. But if Bitcoin's going to top out first sometime around between December to maybe March of next year, you could take a position in MSTR and then you could roll that position out of MSTR and into Coney as Coney, basically before Coney and or Coinbase or whatever position you have in Coinbase related before it starts ripping. You could do something like that too. If you didn't really want exposure to the actual native crypto space, this is something you could do. Or you could do the grayscale trust equivalent where you basically have like something like GBTC or IBIT. Then you roll that over into or you have LTCN and BCHG, you roll that over into some of the other trusts that are altcoin related. You could do something similar in the grayscale trust space too. So if I were just to take the measured move here, and again, this is Obviously, Bitcoin can do much more than a $40,000 move. As a matter of fact, I think it's probably going to. I think the peak for Bitcoin on the blow off top could be anywhere from 140,000 to 220,000. If it does 140,000, that's still $70,000 higher than the current price. But let's just be conservative here and say that Coinbase only does a 74% move. And again, I think it's kind of ridiculous to think that it's only going to do 74%. But that would put Coinbase by itself at $338 a share, which is still a massive increase from the current price. That will reflect in Coney. Okay. So if I were to go over to Coney and say, and I don't think it's really out of the question to think that it could do something like this. I think it's possible. Okay, you can see Coney was all the way up at $30 at one point. If it were to do also a 74% return, that would put Coney at roughly about $25 a share. Now, let me go back to Coinbase real quick because I want to show you something here. So Bitcoin in 2021, when Coinbase went up, or when Bitcoin went up from 30,000 to 70,000 on that last final blow off top, it was a $40,000 move. Okay. So if Bitcoin this time goes from 70,000 to 140,000, that's a $70,000 move. So that's nearly double the move. So we'll double this and take a little off the top and say maybe it does around 120 to 130% move on Coinbase, which again I do think is possible. Okay. This would actually put it right about where the listing price was. So right about that 430. Again, I'm going to have to remeasure this so you guys can see it because this is just how ridiculous the charts can get with crypto. So 120% would put it basically at Coinbase's listing price, $440. If we do 130%, you can see it would then be roughly about 460. And again, there's no guarantees that it could play out like this, but this is kind of my thesis, what I think is going to happen. And based on historical data here, there's good reason to believe this could play out. So in terms of Coney, I mean, if this thing does go up 120%, and it's not really that much of a stretch to say it could do so, $31 Coney to potentially as much as a $33 Coney. Now, if it were only to do like half that, even half that, I mean, still the upside could potentially be huge here. I mean, you're talking anywhere from $23 to maybe as high as about $24.50. Okay. So now I want to go ahead and talk about MicroStrategy. We're going to take a look at that one as well, because again, these are the crypto stocks that are related to cryptocurrency. All right, so I'm going to go back in time here once again, and I'm going to take a look at the last time that Bitcoin popped off and what MicroStrategy did during that time. Okay. So you can see it's a little bit more explosive here, and again, something that like that this time around could also happen. I wouldn't rule it out. It's possible. Okay. So from Bitcoin's mid-cycle bottom here, MSTR went up roughly about 100%. And basically from Bitcoin breaking out right about that October timeframe, we'll measure it from right about there. This thing had a stupid, and I do mean stupid, move of 785%. Okay. So you basically got like 100 to 785%. So, I mean, basically from the time that the ETFs were actually approved by the SEC, we did get a similar run up to kind of that October timeframe back in 2020. Although obviously the move is not quite as big, still 486%. So if we were just to say from the breakout point, let's just say from the breakout point, this thing does 100%. So from this green candle right here, it does another 100%. And again, this is totally possible. Okay. And I'm being conservative here when I say this. Roughly about $420 on MSTR. Again, if I do the Fibonacci retracements on MSTR, you can see that it's not really that much of a stretch to think it could go to 420 because, again, that is right in between the 2.618, 3.618. And I I don't know. I don't know why these lines are on here. That's probably for what is it called? The ETH Bitcoin dominance. For some reason, it's popping up here. I don't know why. But yeah, you can basically see that measured price is right in between the fibs there, so it's not that much of a stretch. Again, at least 260 is possible. I would say it could even go as high as 360. I don't think that's much of a stretch. Okay. So let's go over to MSTY and measure that based on the previous price, the previous rip that MSTR had last time Bitcoin popped off in the previous cycle. So if I were just to measure this from, let's say it only does half of MSTR, because again we got the whole cover call thing. Okay, that would still put MSTY at $42 a share. Now, if it does 100%, which is of course absolutely possible, this would put MSTY at a peak of 56%, or $56 per share is what I mean to say. All right, so if Bitcoin did 40,000 from here to here and it's expected to do 70,000 from here to here, and the move on MSTR on the previous cycle was 100%, then we could assume that the move this time around on MSTR could be closer to about 180%. And again, this is the more bullish case scenario, whereas the 100% is kind of the base case. So if I were to measure this out, and again, this is going to look pretty crazy, but this is crypto. I mean, you guys can understand it really is unbelievable when it happens for most people. This would put MSTR at $600 a share. If I take a look at the Fibonacci retracements here, basically from the swing high to swing low, you can see it actually kind of outshoots the fibs a little bit, but the fibs still place it at 500. So anywhere between 5 to 600, definitely possible. Now, if I go back to MSTY, which again, this is the high yielding ETF, and I mean, these numbers are going to be kind of stupid. I'm honestly not even sure it could do this much of a move, but anything's possible, I suppose. So if we were just to measure half of 180%, which again, you got to think about the whole cover call thing, 90% move would put MSTY at 5260, and 180%, if it can manage to pull it off, 180% would be almost $78 a share. Just to give you an example of what MSTY already did last time it rocketed, went up 127% from $20 to $47. So that's basically in between 100% or 90% to 180%. I don't think it's that much of a stretch to think it could go probably somewhere in between there. Okay. So Bitcoin literally, the timing is perfect. You can literally see it breaking out right now. 67,300. I don't think I need to say much more about this. Okay. This thing usually does break all-time highs right around elections or shortly after. So if it happened before or after, either one's fine by me. So there's a couple other things I wanted to point out to you guys. If you guys are more interested in options, not so much in the high yield dividend ETFs, not so much in grayscale, not so much in the native space, because everybody has their flavor, right? So CONL is a basically 2 times long Coinbase ETF. Okay, by Granite Shares, you guys can take a look at doing this. If you don't care about the crypto space, you just want the income, this is an option, pun intended, that you can look at. Again, there are pretty much only monthly contracts here, so you'll have to do this on a monthly or right around every 6 weeks, depending on when you get in. And keep in mind, eventually Bitcoin and crypto probably will have some kind of cycle top. But you can see the premiums and potential upside here are quite huge. So, I mean, even the most from the current price to the furthest outdated contract here with a roughly 30 delta, because again, this is going to be very volatile. This is Coinbase times 2. Coinbase by itself is extremely volatile. Not everybody has $22,000 to buy 100 shares of Coinbase or MicroStrategy, so cheaper options with some income. Still $240 in premiums for a month. If you had 100 shares of this, you would still make about $1,300 or $1,400 in profit if it goes up that high, which it could easily do. If Coinbase is going to do 100% move, 200% move, this thing could easily fly straight past 43. I wouldn't put it. I would say it could probably go up to like 60, 70, maybe even 80. Sounds crazy, but definitely possible. And on the flip side, you got your cash secured puts, so $400 a month in premiums for about that 30 delta. Um, I mean, the opportunity's there, so this is an alternative to Coinbase. And same thing with MicroStrategy. There is also one for this as well. So this is from T-Rex. I think these are the same people that do the FEPI and AIPI, if I'm not mistaken. So you got your 2x long MSTR here. If we go into the options chain, you can see, of course, it's $50, right? Whereas MSTR is 200, so you need about 1/4 the capital to do this. You get your monthly options here. The premiums for these things are absolutely ridiculous. But again, this is crypto. It's very volatile, extremely volatile, even compared to NVIDIA. So the premiums are going to be pretty damn good. Okay. So if you had 100 shares at 50 and it went to 80, you'd make $3,000 in profit. Plus, you would also get $570 in premiums. On the flip side, which again, a $30 move on something like a 2x MSTR, definitely a possibility. On the flip side, if you do some puts, you can see for 1 month is a eye-popping $700 in premiums, and it's actually cheaper than something like NVDL. So just some alternatives there. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.